Okay, so this is going to be the first in, I guess, would be considered a pen testing series. As somebody that follows the videos and follows my blog that I know actually asked me recently, can you do, an article or something on, pen testing? And I get it, right? Like when it comes to cybersecurity stuff or information security stuff, there's red team and blue team positions, and red team is a lot more fun, right? Like you get to break into stuff, you get to hack into stuff. So I want to start off talking about would be considered the methodology and the most important thing, which don't get me wrong, technical skills are important, but the ability to note take and document things. And it is so important. And especially for newbies or people that are just starting out, if you can get this down and you can get it down now, then you will be gold. Okay. You will be absolute gold. And the reason I say that is because when it comes, there is such a thing as professionalism. I hate that I'm saying professionalism. I don't like the word professional. I don't like being professional. Do I think that everybody should be professional? No, I don't. Am I going to apologize for doing a job where I'm sitting in like pajamas and a cardigan or a hoodie and sipping coffee and not acting professional and saying things like shit or fuck all the time? No, I won't. I'm not going to apologize for that. However, there is something to be said for being able to report security findings, especially if you're a security researcher, right? Because that's the basis of what we're doing is we're doing security research. We are performing pen tests. We are, working on bug bounties. We're, doing things to try to find vulnerabilities and then report them so they can be fixed. That's what's important. So therefore, the very beginning of what would be this pen testing, maybe ethical hacking, security research series is going to be note taking. And it's going to be my favorite note taking app. Now, I'm going to review a few different applications and software. I know Obsidian is one that's on my list. I've known some other people that have worked in the industry that really, really like Obsidian and the whole Vault setup. But what I use oftentimes is Cherry Tree. And so today we're going to talk about Cherry Tree. We're going to talk about Greenshot. So Cherry Tree is essentially this note-taking app, and there's many, many note-taking apps out there. But the reason I like Cherry Tree is when you save a file, you can actually choose the format to save it in. So for example, you can save it as I think it's a .ctb or cbt, which is like Cherry Tree's thing. It's CTB. Like an SQL, like light format. Or you can also choose to save it as an XML format, and you can choose for it to be encrypted. So therefore you have to decrypt the file. And that's really important because a lot of the things that we're finding are super sensitive, right? This is sensitive information. We've got to be able to handle the sensitive information properly so it never leaks out. What if you perform a pen test on a target for a client or even a bug bounty, and you find a really big vulnerability that allows remote code execution? Well, you document it, but if your own documentation leaks out and a threat actor actually uses that vulnerability of remote code execution to, hack into essentially your client's website or server, that's not good. And that falls back on you. So you've got to handle this very seriously. That's one of the reasons why I like Cherry Tree. And Obsidian is also on my list. So in this pen testing methodology series, I'm going to be doing it on my own website, on Red's own website, and it's not going to be a full pen test, but these are going to be basically things to kind of show you what this methodology looks like, the tools that I use, the tools that can be used, and kind of give you an idea, right, of how this goes. So this is not a full-fledged pen test. And at some point, on Twitch or on a YouTube stream or something, I will do that. Of course, I'll do it on an asset I own, like my own website, or maybe, there's tons of different apps out there that you can use that are intentionally vulnerable. There's DVWA, which is the damn vulnerable web application. There's also Juice Shop, which is a very well known one. And I'm choosing a website target because I'm kind of treating this as an external pen test. And I know a lot of you, some of you that I've talked to, and a lot of people are really interested in bug bounties, and most bug bounties are websites, their web targets, their web application targets. So I figured this was, a good spot to be in. So Cherry Tree. All right, let's get down to it. So the thing I like about Cherry Tree is how you can organize it. And this is typically how I organize it. So I've got Code Red blog, that's my target. That's the file, that's what I've saved. And then I've got these two nodes underneath it, which are reconnaissance and discovery. And that's the thing I like about Cherry Tree is you can build out this tree of nodes. Now let's say, for example, I do, reconnaissance on, which is the very first step. We always start with reconnaissance. The more reconnaissance you do, the more you're going to have at your disposal. And I'll do a whole, video or probably multiple videos on just reconnaissance itself. I mean, reconnaissance is what literally can make or break your ability to find vulnerabilities. So reconnaissance is the name of the game. The better you are at reconnaissance, the more set up you are for success, honestly. All right, so I've got this node here, Code Red blog. Underneath it, I've got recon. But let's say I do reconnaissance and I find that Code Red blog has multiple subdomains, right? So under recon, I could put, subdomains, for example, like let's say I've got admin.coderedblog.io, right? And obviously you don't want to type these in manually. You do nmap scans, use amass, you use asset finder, all the tools at your disposal to be able to, jeez, man, huge ambulance going by. All the tools at your disposal to be able to find subdomains, and then you copy and paste them and put them in here and verify that they're live. And that's something we'll go in another time. But let's say I find admin.coderedblog.io, dev.coderedblog. Dev is a pretty popular subdomain, stands for, developer, development. Test.coderedblog. Oh, I need to learn. Come on, Red. Ugh, I got to learn how to fucking spell. And then we've got, chair. I don't know why I put chair. That was weird. Probably has something to do with my psyche. All right, so we got these subdomains, right? And I got this list of subdomains. Well, underneath recon, I can choose. So this button goes straight down. This button indents, so a child node. So my selected node is recon. I can just make a child node real quick. And let's name it one of the subdomains, like admin.coderedblog.io. That subdomain. Boop. And right there, boom, we've got a node. So this is kind of like building a tree, if you will, for your nodes, because this is everything that's going to be involved in reconnaissance. I'm doing this. I'm going to do reconnaissance on this, and this is where I can put like results of if I can learn how to spell nmap scans. I can put results of like screenshots of tech. Right? I can do all kinds of stuff. And also I can do, a child node for the main site, not just a subdomain right there, right? So now I've got a subdomain I'm doing reconnaissance on. I've got the main site I'm doing reconnaissance on. So just having that organization within Cherry Tree is really nice. The other thing I like is being able to put in a timestamp. And this is really important, right? The more you document, the better. So let's say, for example, I can go up here to insert, and I can insert a timestamp. Boom, right there. Adds in the timestamp. So now you guys know what time I'm doing this locally, where I'm at, and the date. But the reason that's really important is because, like, we as security researchers, we go back and we retest things all the time. We perform reconnaissance on things all the time. So we don't just, with a pen test, obviously, like, you have kind of a scope regarding your engagement time. So it could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, right? So you need to find all the vulnerabilities and basically break into systems and places within that time frame, that week, that 2 weeks maybe for a pen test. But with things like bug bounties, the bounty is always out there. So you don't just go through your target, find everything, and then you're done. and report your findings, we go back through and work on the same target weeks at a time or even months and find new things that pop up. So I'm able to add a timestamp there. And then, let's say on my reconnaissance, I find a directory, which would be coderedblog.io/hidden. And that directory, it's just like nothing there, no other directories. Well, then let's say a month later, I can insert a timestamp, and obviously this timestamp is going to be the same as today. But a month later, I can insert a new timestamp and then indent, and all of a sudden say like, oh, new login page not there previously. Able to enumerate usernames. Well, that's an information disclosure vulnerability, right? All of a sudden there's a new login page. I try to type in my email for forgot password and it says something like, oh, that username doesn't exist. Well, that's a big deal because now I can say, oh, so I can kind of brute force and enumerate what usernames exist to try to narrow down what usernames do exist, or usernames don't exist versus do exist. Whatever. You get what I'm saying. So I hope you get what I'm saying. If you don't, you can comment on it. I don't give a fuck. I'll help you out. Anyways, point being is that I like being able to throw timestamps in there. Cherry Tree makes it super, super easy, super simple. And you can do things in here. You can manipulate the tree and what it looks like. Oh, look at that. You can insert today's node under tree root. You can duplicate a node. You can go forward or go back. You can, right here, you can execute code lines and stuff. Being able to pause recording software is fucking fantastic because I was totally able to hit pause and just sneezed my fucking face off. You guys had no idea. I'm so happy about this. But yeah, there's a lot that you can do with Cherry Tree. It's very versatile. So what I was about to say is like you can put code in there and you can execute code on a line or on a section. Let's say you decide to use Cherry Tree for documentation on malware analysis. And I know this is in a series for pen testing, but like, and you sandbox it. Like Cherry Tree is very versatile. You can search. I don't fuck with any of that. You can add bookmarks. I didn't know you could add bookmarks. Wait, how do you add a bookmark? Oh, so I just bookmarked that. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So the bookmark thing is kind of cool. Let me explain why. So these are just there's a domain and then we got a subdomain admin. And in the subdomains, like I put, like 4 different subdomains. In reality, when you do what's called subdomain scraping, and if you're actually good at subdomain scraping or like have good techniques you can use, you can find anywhere from 50 to 100 subdomains, especially if you're working on a big target for a larger company. You can find an inordinate amount of subdomains. It's disgusting how many fucking subdomains you can find. So you could literally have nodes upon nodes upon nodes upon nodes of subdomains over here on the left, right? And then that's cool. I didn't know you could bookmark. So the nice thing about bookmarking is that, let's say like I've got, I'm just going to make another one, admin.coderedblog.com. And then I've got, the other subdomain test.coderedblog. I said .com and it's .io. I don't even know my own fucking website. Come on, man. All right. So I've got these 2 subdomains, right? And let's say I had like a list of 50 over here that I'm doing reconnaissance on. Well, it could be that like this subdomain I didn't find, anything interesting on, but the test subdomain I did. Well, we can add a bookmark. And now I can see that of all the subdomains over here, I've got 2. Boom, boom. And I can see like what subdomains I found interesting things on that I can follow up with like security testing or maybe like what I call discovery. So discovery, you can also use the term findings. I mean, this is just me being me, but like discovery is like I will put in here like the subdomains, the targets, the actual locations, you know, timestamp them, and what I actually found with like screenshots, or even do a proof of concept video, right? So that's really important. So yeah, so bookmarking is cool. That is cool. Yeah, you can change the layout, the style. So you can indent. So indenting is important, right? Indenting is important. I just hit the tab button, but like, you know, coderedblog.io slash, whoops, robots.txt. Robots.txt can give you a lot of good information. Let's say I'm doing reconnaissance and all of a sudden I find out robots.txt shows that they should disallow access to slash add dash login. Oh, so there may be a login portal here for this website, for this target. I should check that out. I should go to coderedblog.io slash add dash login. Right. So yeah, there's just, you know, being able to indent, being able to organize things in this manner is just amazing. And that's one of the things I love about Cherry Tree. Now let's use Cherry Tree and Greenshot as an example to be able to document something. Okay. All right. So I'm here on my own website, on my own blog. Okay. And you can see, I'm just on a random page. This is a video I did on wireless security and DDWRT. You guys can go check that out. But I use an extension, and some of you may be familiar with this, but it's called Wappalizer. Wappalizer is a great extension. So when we do reconnaissance and what's known as like scanning and enumeration, not only do we want to find endpoints or targets like subdomains or, you know, different directories. So these are directories right here, coderedblog.io slash 2025. That's a directory, slash 03 directory, slash 02 directory. Like every time you see that slash, if it's not like a file or a page, it's a directory. But you want to find the tech stack that is being used on the target, and that is really important. So let's say it's a target that uses, you know, all Linux computers. Well, then you're going to want to find out like what version of Linux is it running, and then you want to research. Google is your best friend when it comes to pen testing. You want to research, you know, vulnerabilities for Linux distribution Ubuntu version 18.0.4.5 or whatever. And you can research vulnerabilities online to see what type of attacks you can chain together. So the more reconnaissance, the more research you do, the better off you are. Anyways, so Wappalizer is this extension that tells me the tech stack that's being used for the target website that I'm testing on, right? So that's right here. Look at that. Now I'm doing this on purpose. I know you guys can see the tech stack I'm using, and I know like good security, bad security. I am doing this on purpose. All right. We got WordPress 6.8.1. We got the Elementor version. We know that it uses MySQL. We have the versions right here of jQuery, okay, which is like the JavaScript libraries. Oh, you can see that. The theme that's being used with WordPress. You know, the fact that security is being done through HSTS. Like, there's a lot of information here. Now, I have this open and vulnerable on purpose because we're testing on my site. Don't break my site. If you break my site, I'm going to turn on my firewall and everything after I'm done recording this video. But basically, like, so right here, I've used Wappalizer, and just having the Wappalizer extension installed populates all this information, right? So the reason I bring this up, besides teaching you guys how to document, how to research a little bit, is also Greenshot. So Greenshot is a program that does screenshots for you that you can also edit. Okay. So with Greenshot, there's a command, and I'm just going to hit my command. I think it's like shift print screen. That did not work the way I wanted it to. Hold on one sec. I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. All right, here we go. So Greenshot, put the cursor over here, print screen, and boom. it populates this. So I just took a screenshot of what's here and I'm going to open it in the image editor. And there we are. So now we're in Greenshot. Okay. Now the reason this is really important, get rid of that notification. First of all, I can crop it. So I'm not worried about all of this. I'm not even worried about this right here. I'm worried about this information right here. So I'm going to crop it. Boom. Just like that. And right there. Now I've got a screenshot of, you know, all the tech stack, not everything obviously, but I'm using this for education purposes. I've got a screenshot of the tech stack for that website, right? Now let's say I found like leaked credentials. Now I need to include screenshots in my findings report, but I can't just be putting out leaked passwords out there. So first of all, oh yeah, this is cool. I can make a border, boom. So it gives it a black border. So it looks good on white if I need to populate a report. I can make an arrow. I know I'm jumping around, guys, but I can draw an arrow that's really important, like, boom, this right here is important. And then I can also do something called obfuscation. Where's my obfuscate button? Shit. No. 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 There. Come on, Red. All right, now let's say like randomly, this right here is a password. You're not going to get a password off Wappalizer. I'm just trying to show you how Greenshot works. But I can, you know, make that box and right there it obfuscates it for me. How nice is that? How nice is that? Right? So Greenshot just has, I mean, you can pop it into any one of these applications. Obviously I'm on a Windows machine. But yeah, you can do all kinds of editing and drawing arrows or bubbles or something to like obfuscate things. Pointing this out, I can put a text box underneath it that says like, this is not supposed to be here, or, you know, whatever. So Greenshot is extremely versatile, extremely versatile. Okay. So what I did was I went ahead and saved the image in Greenshot after making my edits, right? Got a little arrow here, you know, pointing out like, ooh, this is bad. Oh no. And then, you know, I obfuscated my SQL. Oh no, I've got passwords out there. I'm not supposed to be presenting that to people. But basically, why the fuck did I choose to do that voice? I need more coffee. So basically, I clicked on insert, chose an image from, you know, my local machine, and I can just populate the image in here. Now you can, you know, fuck with the width and the height, which is great. And it'll automatically, you know, make the adjustments. Boom. But let's say I hit OK right there with Cherry Tree. I can go ahead and pop the screenshot in there because it's a screenshot of Wappalizer, right? So I'm on Code Red blog and I'm doing my reconnaissance, and this is what's showing the reconnaissance, right? And then I can go to Google and I can research, what's vulnerabilities for, you know, Elementor 3.28.4. And then I can type like, you know, found vulnerability that Elementor 3.28.4, fuck, come on, Red, is susceptible to remote code execution. And I don't know, reverse shell or something. Maybe XSS, like it's very susceptible to cross-site scripting. I don't know. But the point being is that like I can, you know, document as much as I can because these are going to be things for later, right? So I'm doing reconnaissance, and then I can come back later and I can test these things. So now I've found these vulnerabilities just by doing a quick Google or Bing search. And then I can say, oh, you know, this version is susceptible to cross-site scripting. Well, why don't I do some cross-site scripting testing on it? And then if I find that it is susceptible and that I have a proof of concept in other screenshots, well, then that's a finding. And that's a finding in my pen test report. Could also be a finding I get paid for in a bug bounty. But that's why I want to show you Cherry Tree. I'm also going to do a video on Obsidian, but it's, Note taking, documenting, reporting is so very important. It is so very important. You've got to be able to document things and report them, and then be able to work with the blue team side of things, like the security teams, to help them figure out how they're going to plug and deal with these vulnerabilities. So that's Cherry Tree, that's Greenshot. Two programs I use, two programs I absolutely love, and that is like the number one most important thing I wanted to start with this pen testing series is how to document and yeah. I don't know what else I was gonna say. You're welcome. Oh, real quick, something super important I wanted to let you guys know.